Hey, welcome to the second course video for the song Cottonwood from 21 Pilots and their album Breach. I'm musically malnourished, and you're on my journey to go deep and wide in discovering new music and artists. In these videos, we do a deep dive into the lyrics and meaning behind the music. So let's get in, see what Cottonwood is all about. All right, so I did look up what cottonwood is, and it's a tree. But I looked up the symbolism, and it says cottonwood symbolism centers on spirituality, life, and connection, especially for Native Americans who view it as sacred, representing the sun, stars, bridge between worlds, tree of life, used in rituals and medicine. It signifies hope, healing, strength, and regeneration. And here is a picture. Here's where I would assume it gets the name cottonwood from. But what I also find interesting is if we jump over here to Genius, it says Cottonwood, this is about the song, is one of the most somber songs Tyler has released. A tribute to his maternal grandfather, Robert Fuzzy Stryker. And I'm curious if Fuzzy here may be some connection. I don't know if there's a picture out there of his grandfather. I don't know, maybe he had a white beard or something like that, or was called Fuzzy, but I'm curious if there's a connection not only to Cottonwood as the meaning that we saw just a second ago, but also maybe a physical attribute. It says the song dives into Tyler's wrestling with his death. The song hints at tragic events leading to his death, but nothing is confirmed by Tyler or obituaries for Fuzzy. During the Breach album release, listening parties, and one of many commentary snippets between the songs, Tyler said, "So you heard Cottonwood, which is actually about my grandpa passing away last year. The cottonwood tree, oh, look at this. The cottonwood tree is my favorite tree, and the way the tree sheds little white fuzz reminded me of his fine white hairs. So this song really helped me cope with what I was going through at the time." That's so cool. All right, let's take a look. Verse 1, "Can't believe you're gone for good. Someone chopped you down, thought you'd just fall in the woods. But she heard that sound. No, I don't remember. Last we spoke. No, I don't remember." I wonder if there is that idea, that they say if a tree, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around, does it make a sound? Sorry, this is just coming to me. If okay, the phrase, if a tree is chopped down and no one hears it, or if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? So without a listener, the experience doesn't exist, only the potential for it, which I think is interesting. So I'll go out on a limb here, pun intended, that maybe the idea is someone chopped you down. So if he was killed in a car accident, killed by violence, or whatever it might be, this idea thought you'd just fall in the woods, that nobody would notice, nobody would hear it. Gosh, that's so sad to think about. Because it is this idea of people taking another life. And again, this is just conjecture, but let's run with the idea just in general, that people can be so careless with other people's lives. And this is honestly why I really can't stand the idea of not only like drunk driving, but people who are very reckless on the highways and interstates. I get very frustrated, very angry at that, because that person might get hurt. And I don't mean to be cold, because I care about every human life, but that's your decision. If you're going to live like an idiot, you might die like an idiot. What I get more frustrated by is the thought that so many people lose people they care about because of the recklessness of another person. And so the idea that some idiot driving might strike my family and rob me of sweet lives because of their recklessness just does something in me. And so the idea too of somebody that exercises violence on another, especially like we've seen and we've heard of people doing that against elderly people, teenagers that will just do horrific things to elderly people, man, is so evil and gross. But whatever happened here, it's almost the idea of somebody chopped you down. Somebody was careless with your life, thought you just fall in the woods, thought you wouldn't make a sound, thought that there would be no reverberating effect from it. But the reality is maybe she heard that sound, could be speaking of his grandmother, maybe. I don't know. Okay, look, this is spelling it out for us. Glad I got there on my own, though. A reference to the common philosophical question, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? Tyler Joseph seems to be using this question to imply his grandfather's death had a significant impact on his loved ones, even if he had been too unwell to know it. This line also refers to how the death of his grandfather continues to impact people, even those who weren't around to witness him pass away. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Tyler answers this by saying, yes, his grandfather's death did make a sound, leave an impression because she, perhaps Tyler's daughter or wife, are affected by it despite not being around at the time. Okay, that makes sense, because I don't know if this is his grandmother passed away on the maternal side, but it makes sense. Because it would be speaking about Jenna's father if it is on the maternal side, because it's saying here it could be a reference to the band song Legend. That song was dedicated to another of Tyler's grandfathers who also suffered from Alzheimer's. In that song, there's a line, I wish she knew you, in which Tyler explains she, his wife, Jenna, who didn't get to know the grandfather before his health began to decline. Now, after years of being together, Jenna might have got to know the grandfather this song is about, so she knows how the disease hit him. But if it is on his maternal side, right, that would be her grandfather? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Maternal means of or related through a mother. Okay, I don't know. Somebody help me sort that out. I don't want to waste your time trying to figure it out here, but I think this honestly is one of and this is saying a lot. This simple structure right here is one of the most profound pieces of writing I've seen from Tyler. The idea of tying a cottonwood because it reminds you of the grandfather to this metaphor or this question of chopping a tree down that nobody hears the sound, but the reality is because it's a life, the sound is heard, it's felt, he's missed. Man, that's a brilliant piece of writing. No, I don't remember last we spoke. Okay, so obviously there's also some regret that seems to be here in this song of feeling like maybe he didn't take advantage of the time that he had. I look back in time through a telescope. I've been catching my reflection already looking. The chorus paints time as something you can literally look through a telescope turned backward. Instead of spotting distant stars, Tyler spots himself. That twist suggests the memory and identity are deeply entangled. The farther back he looks, the more he sees a reflection of who he was and how it shaped who he is now. By saying his reflection is already looking, the lyric flips the perspective. The past self is also watching him. This creates a haunting loop where both versions of Tyler are observing one another. Tyler has stated this song is about his grandfather's passing, and sometimes, especially for people who overthink a lot, you'll think about and consider scenarios that haven't happened yet, even if they're far in the future. My reflection, already looking, could mean past Tyler had already thought about his grandfather's death, so when he looks back on it, he sees himself already considering it as scenario before it happens. Okay, that's an interesting thought. Let me know if you have a different thought. Most are blown down in a storm, but the wind was tame. You weren't waiting anymore. Were you sad or brave? No, I don't condemn you. Back and forth. No, I don't condemn you. Interesting. So it seems to sound like most are blown down in a storm by maybe some chaotic event, some difficulty, some craziness, but he's saying the wind was tame. So when he was struck down, maybe it's this idea of that it wasn't, they didn't see it coming. Because if you were to take either, let's just take a sickness or something, a struggle, a lot of times before an elderly person passes away, there might be this sickness that takes them, or like that grabs hold of them, and there's this storm going on, or these events that you kind of understand the weather's bad. But for this being the wind was tame, it almost be like a tree falling down in my backyard when there's not a storm. And it's like, whoa, how did that happen? And so I don't know, that's what it seems to be to me, is there was almost, maybe it wasn't expected. You weren't waiting anymore. Fuzzy could have been in the state of waiting for death, which is tragic and horrible. Tyler hints he could have been tired of waiting for natural causes to occur, ready to take his life into his own hands. Tyler wonders if his grandfather was bravely ready to pass into the next life, or if he was fearful of seeing the other side. Some cases of people who attempt suicide but are unsuccessful, they mention how their mood changes as soon as they started the process. Tyler wondered if his grandfather had similar feelings, or if he was confident in his decision. Well, obviously that's a lot of speculation in that. I mean, I can obviously see where maybe it could be self-harm related, but Tyler has not given us that information. And I think to surmise that, it's not that you can't have it in conversation, but definitely can't make a confident claim about somebody, because that's a bold and can be an extremely hurtful claim. So I'm not really going to run with that idea, but you can at least see this idea of like when he was facing the end, was he sad or brave? Now there is some speculation when you go to these lines about not condemning. I'm honestly not even going to click on this just because I don't really want to drive that narrative too much. But that could possibly be shedding some light, because Tyler would know what those feelings are like and the struggle with it and the condemnation that can come not only of yourself but from others, and his almost like a peace or a release of him saying like, I don't condemn you, you know? All right, and then we have the chorus repeated. The bridge, you tore me up more than you know. So obviously speaking to pain. And then it ends with the chorus, man. I need to go back and listen to the song again. I mean, I've heard it a few times, but now I'm going to view it through a different lens. So I don't necessarily want to say like anybody's wrong for saying that it could be something like that. Tyler does seem to give us some hidden language that it could be this idea of him taking his own life, especially those ideas of like the wind being tame. Most were blown down in a storm. Maybe this idea there's a lot going on in your life, but it feels like things were normal. There wasn't a lot of turmoil. Being sad or brave, not condemning him. So, I don't know. Wow. I'm still blown away by that opening line, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being with me for this one. Hope to see you in the next one. We're eating good.